Hello and welcome to what I'm going to call DIY Security for Your Small Business webinar. My name is Claudiu Popa. I'll be your host today. I am a cybersecurity professional. I am certified in privacy and security. I am a member of the Stouffville Chamber of Commerce, or more precisely, the nonprofit foundation, Knowledge Flow Cyber Safety Foundation, is a member of the Stouffville Chamber of Commerce, and the Chamber has asked us to put together a quick little presentation, this webinar that will hopefully be useful to members and anyone clicking on this video, especially at a time like this where we see an increased volume of fraud and scams and various types of malware arriving in our inboxes practically on a daily basis. This is the kind of stuff that we do at Knowledge Flow. We spread knowledge and education to kids, to seniors across Canada. So this is perfectly acceptable, and as a proud member of the Chamber, I am more than happy to put this together. So without further ado, I want to dive right into the kinds of things that business owners and professionals should be interested in, not just for their own business, but also for the sake of their clients. So one of the things that that people don't see is the fact that the government and law enforcement do put out various advisories and bulletins once in a while. Here's an example of one that talks about business email compromises, and this goes out to a limited list of people, and those people like myself who are in the security business are encouraged to share them. So business email compromise, for example, is the kind of phishing email or the kind of spam that arrives in your inbox and asks you to send money, either because they pretend to be a customer whose bank account has changed, or because they pretend to be your boss. And because they can't be there in person, they're asking you to supposedly send a whole bunch of cash urgently. Either way, they're fairly simple and unsophisticated lies. So we need to be aware of these things because some of them are really convincing, and they've cost businesses over $4 billion in the past couple of years around the world. They can be extremely costly, as you can imagine, and we need to learn to anticipate them. They come in various forms, and sometimes they're even followed by a telephone call to see why you haven't paid yet. So be aware of that. The types of breaches that occur as a result of phishing and spam that has a malicious payload are again adding up in costs, and so we're seeing costs in the millions of dollars for businesses, mostly medium sized but larger as well. Obviously smaller businesses don't have these types of costs, or it would put them out of business, right? You can't really afford a $4 million fee for fixing the damages that cybercrime has wrought on your business. But all this to say, um, cybercrime today is all about the money, right? It didn't used to be that way 20 years ago, where people would hack into things, into companies, into organizations for fun and to show that they're super smart. Now they actually have jobs and they have families and they go to work and they follow very modern practices for doing that. So we need to be aware of the fact that when companies get defrauded, it often costs a lot of money to investigate these frauds. So unless you're in the millions of dollars, law enforcement can't really help effectively. Unless you've gone to the media or the CBC and you or CTV or whoever it is, and you've sought some large-scale exposure, um, you know, that's not going to move the needle, right? There's a lot of cybercrime going on, and we don't hear about it. In fact, I wrote a book called the Canadian Cyber Fraud Handbook, and it's mostly designed for lawyers. But the idea there was that I could create a taxonomy or a classification method to help people identify the types of fraud that they're seeing and not be scared of it, and understand the fact that it's really an evolutionary thing. They're all related, and they use a very simple set of tricks. So there's nothing to be scared of, and I encourage people to share this kind of information that we're sharing today with their families, not just with their business. So one of the things that, just to paint a picture, we need to have a frame of reference. One of the things that we're seeing is just a vast increase in the amount of malicious software. So all these strains of different viruses and Trojan horse software that are infecting computers around the world. It was a massive amount in 2011. I was looking at 65,000, and that was huge because back in the 90s, the early 90s, when McAfee was getting started, well, they got started in the 80s, but when McAfee was still running on your computer, and we saw this increase of detectable signatures, it was pushing 30,000, and those were mind-blowing numbers. So now that we're in the millions, it's huge. And of course, as of this year, we're in the billions. So there's literally billions of malicious pieces of software looking to infect not just computers, but mobile phones and connected smart devices, Internet of Things devices that people love to accumulate and put in their homes and connect to the local network. And of course, those can easily constitute privacy or security breaches if they're not connected properly. But we need to keep in mind the fact that there's new malware that gets introduced every month, and that's in the millions as well, right? And a lot of these things are not detectable. Antivirus, first of all, can't keep up, but it also can't anticipate what's going to be launched, because a lot of these things are tested before being launched, and that testing process allows malicious people to say, hey, you know what, have I just wasted 2 months creating a new virus so that it can get detected? No. So they won't release it unless they have some level of certainty that it will not be easily detected. And as you can see, they're targeting every sector, right? You can feel free to pause this presentation if I'm going too fast, but every sector is targeted with different types of attacks, from privacy breaches to data security breaches to just the approaches that paralyze a business in order to extort them, in order to ask for ransom. So in many cases, the kinds of education that you will find is available online around cybersecurity focuses on the fact that users should not infect themselves, right? So businesses have employees, and those employees go on the internet, they click on things, and it infects the company network. But that applies even more so to small businesses, because people are now working from home, and sometimes they're even using home computers to do work. So a lot of surfing ends up being done. A lot of emails end up landing in that inbox, and so the chance of getting infected are higher. The point is, if prevention matters most, right? So you need to have a high level of awareness about these things, and you need to be able to kind of anticipate the fact that this could get very bad very quickly. And so this is one of the older screens, one of the nicer screens that ransomware has ever presented. Ransomware will encrypt the data on your computer that it thinks is valuable, right? So first it downloads it, so you already lose the data, right? So the data's gone, they've stolen it, and then they come back and encrypt it. Then they ask you for money in exchange for the privilege of accessing it again. So that's ransomware for you. And when people, cyber criminals, choose to release a new antivirus program, they first check it against existing antivirus software to make sure it's not detectable, like I said before. And you can do the same thing. If you have a file that's suspicious, you go to virustotal.com, and you can upload it, and it'll tell you based on how other antivirus tools are doing, it will tell you which tools are thinking that this is infected and which tools are saying, no, this file is clean. And as you saw on the previous screen, you could also upload a website or paste a website address in there, and it'll check it for you. So it's a pretty useful site. The usefulness of it can be increased by virtue of sending more files at the same time. So for example, you want to know whether you've got any sort of infected software running in memory at any particular point in time. So here's a screen from a free program called Process Explorer, which lists everything you've got running in memory at any one time. And when you go to the View menu and you enable Virus Total, it will produce this information on the Virus Total column. And that Virus Total column will tell you how many of, in this case, 72 or 73 or 71 antivirus engines have considered this tool as being suspicious. Okay, so that's an interesting thing. You could download it from sysinternals.com, and it's free. You can also go to avtest.org and figure out what's the best antivirus tool for you. There are some antivirus tools that are meant for home users and some that are meant for business users. In this case, we're going to look at business users, and we see that the best rated one is F-Secure. So F-Secure is a company in Finland that produces excellent antivirus software. So if you'd like to test it out, you can go there, and they actually have a free scanner. You can actually run that scan for free on your computer over the internet. I've pasted the URL at the bottom of the screen if you want to check it out, or you can just go to fsecure.com and go to free tools and activate it from there. It's a pretty good deal, obviously, but if you want to use it on a regular basis, you have to pay for it. But if you wanted to go with something that's free, Kaspersky is not free, but it's excellent. And Microsoft down here is, in fact, free. And that free product that you see, the Defender antivirus, comes with every version of Windows. So why not use it? Because as you can see, it's in the top 3 of all anti-malware products. So why not? And you can get more information at windowsdefender.com, which is a Microsoft website. So go for it. For Mac users, you're in luck. Antivirus and malware protection is built into the operating system, and you don't necessarily have to worry about getting extra protection. There's always the risk of downloading protection tools that might be infected. So unless you absolutely need it, don't do it. But if you do, go with one of the reputable brands like McAfee or Norton or Symantec, right? Don't necessarily go with the free tools because some of the free tools have been known to collect information from their users and try to monetize it or sell it. In order to just shift gears here for a little bit, you can also test your firewall, right? Because you're at home, you're no longer behind a corporate firewall. You are responsible for your own network security. So here's a simple tool from grc.com, from Gibson Research Corporation. It's called Shields Up. You go to the Shields Up website and you select the Shields Up scan all ports, all service ports. And as it scans all service ports, it's going to paint a picture of every single way to access your computer, which is to say by one of 1,000 ports, 1,024 ports down here, as you can see, or a bit more. And each of these little boxes shows you that when an external program or an external website tries to access your computer, if it's green, it means your firewall's configured correctly and your firewall does not respond. If it's not green, then chances are it'll be red, in which case it'll be open. There is an intermediate setting, as you can see here in the legend, where it's blue. And when it's blue, it means the port is closed. It means the firewall has said, no, you can't get in. That's the next best thing to it being green. Again, the best behavior of a firewall is for it to ignore attackers so it doesn't motivate them to keep attacking, right? And not letting them know that there's actually a computer there is always better than saying, no, no, you can't come in. So in summary, you've got the ability to check individual files for free on VirusTotal. You can check what's running in your memory using Process Explorer, again, for free. The avtest.org reference site is a great and useful reference that you should take advantage of. You can use Microsoft Antivirus, again, free, and you can get a free scan from F-Secure. And of course, you can check your firewall's protection with Shields Up. So that's free network security. There's obviously a lot more you can do, but from the perspective of protecting your small business in an affordable and effective way, you could do a lot worse than this. So this is a set of the best tips that I can give you. Obviously, there's a lot more. You should be checking your company's systems at least one time, if not on a regular basis. You should be looking at how you're training not just your own staff, but the staff of companies that are your service providers, and you should have some policies in place and care about whether something is legal or not. For example, in Canada, we have privacy laws that do touch upon the necessity of having proper security controls in place. So feel free to email me if you have any questions, and just remember to exit the building before tweeting about it. So again, my name is Claudiu Popa. I was your host today. I'm glad that you listened through this webinar. Thank you very much. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. And on behalf of the Stouffville Chamber of Commerce, I thank you again and have a good day.